Hello, this is Kathy Obrushansky, and this presentation that I made serves as your part two of your ESL training. Your part one was an in person training. With this training, I just want to make sure you understand that ELL is the learner, the English language learner. ESL is the program. You'll also hear LEP for limited English proficiency. You'll hear that an ELL may be emergent bilingual or maybe even a multilingual learner. Oftentimes, a ELL will fall through the cracks because they are very quiet. Sometimes they're very quiet. They don't tend to cause a lot of problems. Their families are not necessarily very involved. So it's important that we do not let them fall through the cracks. It's important that we have accommodations in place to help them. These accommodations are federally mandated, just like special ed accommodations are. So when it is in their ILP, meaning their individual learning plan, it is something that must be done. It helps them keep up with their work, helps them understand. And some of these accommodations are graphic organizers. Um, you use these in your classrooms anyway. Concrete manipulatives, extended time, flashcards, whether these are real flashcards or online flashcards using Blooket or Quizlet, pairing them up with someone. And having that buddy there to help them. And also on our textbooks, we have the text to talk button. So that really is an important strategy to help them. It's important that teachers communicate effectively. And one thing is that we want to avoid acronyms and idioms. Also, don't raise your voice, don't talk louder. That doesn't help anyone learn. It might actually scare a student. It's important to enunciate, say your words properly. Use hand signals. This is basically just a big game of charades, and you're going to be pointing at things, acting things out, and always check for understanding. Look at their facial expressions, right? And so this is informal assessment, and have that set up that they give you a thumbs up when they're. You can kind of look at them with a thumbs up. Are you getting this? And they would give you a thumbs up if they are. And then, of course, speak slowly. We all remember how important that is. Next is CALP and BICS. So this conceptual dichotomy is a foundation of WIDA standards. Also, credit goes out to Jim Cummins. And CALP is the cognitive academic language, and BICS stands for basic interpersonal communication. So with the CALP, what we're talking about is content language. This is what will help them in school with those content areas, whereas the other is social language. So these are things that they're going to be using on the playground with their friends and family, on the phone, and also some of the instructional language, which could be in both areas, but a lot of the instructional language might actually go in the social side. Of course, slang is going to be something that's going to be in the BICS. Next, we're going to talk about the five stages of language acquisition. So, the first is pre production. That's also called the silent period, lasts from a day up to 6 months. This is the absorbing phase. And you might feel like, oh, this student is just ignoring me or they're being rude. No, they're not. This is a period that they go through. This is a 500 word, relatively, about 500 word vocabulary. And think about a baby that when they're learning their first language, they are getting all kinds of input and may not start speaking for a year and a half. So students in this phase are going to do a lot of repeating, and it's very stressful because they're not able to express their basic needs. Next, we have the early production. This lasts from about to 6 months, and they have about 1,000 word vocabulary. So they'll be speaking in 1 or 2 word sentences at this stage. And some of the things that can help them are graphic organizers. These are very helpful at that stage. You do want to modify the content. However, you want to make sure that they're getting everything the same content, but you're going to have to present it to them in a different way, and it's going to have to be assessed in a different way. CFU stands for checking for understanding. So again, that thumbs up, looking at their facial expressions. Next stage is the speech emergence stage. This lasts about 1 year. And um, at this stage, you're looking at a 3,000 word vocabulary. So at this stage, students are able to speak in short sentences. They should be able to understand most of what is presented to them, whether it's spoken or written, but they will not necessarily be able to show you, to produce that. And so you're going to have to modify the assessment portion of it. Next, we have the intermediate fluency. This lasts about 2 years. We're looking at a 3,000 word vocabulary. You will need some scaffolding, some supports for various assignments. They're going to begin, they're going to have opinions. They're going to be able to express those opinions. And they're going to be having conversations with their peers in English. And so that's a very exciting time. And finally, we have advanced fluency, which duration is 4 to 10 years. So on average, it takes someone 7 years to become fluent. 7 years to become fluent. At this stage, they may feel that English is their native language, and they may very well know things in English that they don't know in their first language. Um, and they're still going to need extra help. They're still going to be building that vocabulary and that cultural knowledge. So those are the 5 stages. Let's look on at the sheltered instruction. So we're going to be developing proficiency in English, and one of those is going to be spelling the word develop correctly, which it's not. Sorry about that. And so it's important that you have equal content. And that means that you're not dumbing down, you're not watering down the content. You're going to give them the same content, but you're going to have to give it to them in a different way by using accommodations, and you're going to assess it in a different way. So, this obviously is going to require professional development to give you some ideas and some strategies for that. In your first training, which was in person, we talked about some of the ways that you could offer this sheltered instruction. So, use simplified language, give extra wait time, a lot of different sensory activities, activate and access prior knowledge, use visuals, pair with a native speaker. Don't force them to speak, especially when they're in the silent stage, and know their cultures. Okay, so let's dive into some of these strategies. So, one is a culture study. This is something, again, that you can do with all of your classes. Most of these accommodations, I would say all of them, are things that all of our students can benefit from. So, this is going to be a culture study. People are proud of their culture. They're going to, first of all, assign this as a you're going to have this as a classroom project. Students are going to interview family and do some research. And then they're going to present it to the class, and that can be done in multiple modes. And then at the end of their presentation, they're going to be taking questions. These type of things really develop life skills, research skills, public speaking skills, writing skills, presentation skills. When they're taking those questions, those are interpersonal skills. So these are the things that build good workers for a workforce and good college students in the meantime. So next is Realia. So this is incorporating real life objects into the classroom. It's a more efficient way to learn a language by connecting an actual object to the word in the brain rather than connecting this object to the first language and then connecting the word in the first language to your second language. So this is a direct connection in the brain. It's a multisensory experience, so you're able to see, hear, touch, maybe even taste this vocabulary word. And of course, it is much easier to do with vocabulary, but you can also do this with concepts as well. We're going to have also the language experience approach. So you have different like sight words, and what you're going to be doing is you're going to have them tell a story. Then you or maybe even a student they're paired with, they're going to write that story down, and then the student is going to read that story with assistance. Often I have them copy that story at home, and then their goal is to be able to read that story alone. Um, Next, another strategy is group work. So we have face to face social learning. It involves friendships, these projects, labs, jigsaws, and more. Even students who are in the silent period, they're able to learn through observation. So they are able to benefit from group work. TPR stands for total physical response. So this is again modeling the thing, the action with the word in this new language. So the teacher is going to model it, the teacher is going to do it and say it. The students are going to do it and say it. Think of it as like an action icon. And then that's connecting it in the brain. Students enjoy getting up, and they enjoy doing this. You have lots of different other supports that you can offer your students. So, assign them a buddy when they first get to your classroom. Write in print rather than just normal handwriting. Give them a seating, preferential seating, which may not be in the front. It could be by their buddy. Give them extended time. Write your procedures down or give it to them in writing. Also, a homework schedule is important. Smile and have a well planned out lesson. Um, it's important to engage the families of ELLs, so invite them to be chaperones and things like that. Decide if they need an interpreter before the meeting starts and have one ready. Attend their cultural events. And there are all kinds of translation aids that you can translate the letters that you're sending home. Finally, Tennessee ELD standards align with WIDA standards. We covered this in depth in your in-person training. Here is a link below for you to go there and refresh your memory on these standards. And the big ideas for the 2020 edition are here below. So, thank you for your attention and thank you for doing your best every single day to teach all of our children, and especially our ELLs.